Hello and welcome back to Press Start Turbo. This episode we're diving deep into our thoughts on the latest Monster Hunter game. And then we're going to be talking to Jonno from Capcom Europe to let us in on how community management works. But before all that, let me introduce you to my co-hosts this episode, Billy, Ten, and Brendan Hesse, whose last name I'm contractually obligated to say every single time.
Because I'm not really the real Brendan, so it's okay.
We've got a whole cast of Brendans that we can choose from. It's like a character select in a Street Fighter.
Hold yourself. There's like two.
Gotta get more.
How are we doing, guys?
I'm pretty good.
I have carpal tunnel. I'm in pain. I want to cry. I'm tired. My dog keeps yelling, and I hate video games.
Exactly the type of attitude we need for a video game podcast.
You guys are excited to hear about passion and love for the art form of video games coming straight at you from someone who hasn't slept in 4 days.
I'm doing great.
You know what I'm saying? No sleep, no game. Yeah, like that t-shirt, eat game.
Eat game, shit, repeat.
Yeah. That's right, no sleep.
Yes. Eat game, shit, repeat. That's all you fucking need. So what have you guys been playing?
I just asked you, Billy. You're just not going to answer the question?
You asked me.
That was
I
my
didn't even realize
segue.
you asked me.
You just fucking, like, walked all over my
bad.
segue.
He's so good at seamlessly segueing, you don't even notice.
That's true. Dude, he is actually seamless with it. It's fucking insane. I've been playing the newest Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Fucking woke Ubisoft shill. Jesus Christ.
It's woke garbage. I hate people. I'm censoring that. I'm sorry. That was really stupid. It's fantastic. It's finally happened. Assassin's Creed is good again.
Kingdom Come fans when they find out brown people made it to Bohemia.
Probably the first time I play an Assassin's Creed game in years where I'm genuinely like impressed with every system in the game. It's just so fucking fun to play. Every system interacts with each other in really interesting, fun ways that give you nice upgrades that are meaningful. It's crazy. It doesn't feel like a slop game. Of course, like, it's still a gigafuck ginormous, insane AAA blockbuster video game, but it doesn't feel like it's wasting your time ever. It's really fucking good. Who else played it? I know, Cameron, you and I have been talking about it.
I'm a bit ahead of you.
Ahead of me in main story stuff. When it comes to side stuff, I think that's most of what I've been doing, honestly, just the side stuff, because it's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, context-wise for me is like I've played most of the Assassin's Creed games just because when I was a kid I had a friend who was like super into it and would always like hype them up for me, and then I'd play them and I'd be like, oh man, this is not as cool as my friend explaining it to me was.
And then you thought less of him as well.
Exactly.
Go with that thought. Yeah,
I'm a real asshole. Primarily is the takeaway. I've honestly, I don't want to say soured on it as the game, like I've played more of it, but I'm like, oh, it's still got that DNA there of the other games, which can be like a good thing, especially for people who are into that, like in terms of its like open world design. But the changes that they have made for like stealth specifically are just so
it's
really
the biggest change in this game is the stealth. It's great.
Getting rid of the
it's
eagle
actually stealth.
fixes so many problems with that game's stealth. Like, I don't know, Billy, if you've played the other ones.
Yeah, I played Origins and a tiny bit of Valhalla. Valhalla was strange with the eagle because at least in Origins, they kind of introduced the eagle as like an actual, like, not real character, but like a pet of the main character. In Valhalla, he's just like, I have an eagle and I use him to cheat.
Yeah, like for one of them, it's
crazy.
For one of them, it's like ingrained into the story of like, oh look, he's got this eagle pet that's his friend forever, and then now every single protagonist in Assassin's Creed
they
game
just
kind of
have
that
one
before, because it's a gameplay conceit, right? But it's one that makes the game actively worse in terms of stealth because it's giving you far too much information.
You're cheating. You're just cheating at that point.
Taking that away and stripping it back, but still giving you more options.
Yes.
But more options that don't break the fucking game. Like, you having to actually engage with tools and stuff like that makes the game so much more interesting.
There's two things that I think make this game. Three things I just thought. It is actually worth doing missions at night because, as with the name Shadows, with like if there's low light, it actually affects how, like, if you're going to get spotted or not. You have to actually extinguish lights to not be seen in the dark. It's like actually worth it to wait until nighttime to do missions or side stuff. More than that, now you have like the basic like crouching stance, but you also have a prone stance. And it's just, there's so many new options. It feels so good to play this game. Even the side stuff, like the castles that you have to go through that are like multi-tiered, like stealth and action sequences. There's just so many different ways to go about them. And the level design is just really good for once. It just feels great to play through these levels, even though it's not really a level. It's like, you know, a part of the open world. It just feels great. Also, the last thing I want to say, this is a detail that I think is just so cool with this game. The seasons changing actually change the way you can approach some stealth. Like, you can have a bamboo shoot to breathe underwater, and during the spring, during autumn, during summer, you can actually go underwater but still breathe and do some takedowns like that. But then if it's during the winter, all of the little lakes that you could use for that stealth, they're frozen over now, so you can't go under them, but you can use them in actual like sword combat because now it's slippery, so enemies will just fucking slip around on it. It's such a neat detail. It's really fun because that means that there's like so many. I just love how many little things affect how you approach situations in this game, specifically for the stealth.
Which of the two protagonists are you playing as?
Naoe. Naoe is the stealth protagonist because there's Yasuke that is just straight up action game, and then there's Naoe who is the shinobi, like the stealth ninja shinobi.
Okay.
That goes around doing things quietly and silently. It has a lot of Tenshu DNA. I will not say that it is exactly like Tenshu because obviously it's not, but if you play this game on hard, it does a pretty damn good job at getting close to a proper stealth game. It's fantastic. And as for Yasuke, I'm going to be honest, I'm 12 hours in and I still haven't gotten the ability to play him again yet.
Oh, so they give you like an option at the beginning, like here, play as them for a little while, or what?
No, when you start the game, they give you a tryout of both characters to be like, hey, this is the start of their story, and then they focus on Naoe's stealth story for a little while, and I don't know when or what is gonna happen with Yasuke whenever I get to him because it's been a while. I'm assuming that something's gonna happen for them to both intertwine.
Yeah, it's like it's for the first like act of the game. You're locked to Naoe for pretty much all of it, and then they unlock Yasuke after that, and then you can just like freely switch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Between them. That's like the one part that I don't know how well it works because Naoe is like the way she plays seems like the most like
fun.
How this game's fun, and also what this game is like open world is designed around, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like Yasuke can't climb, he can't do like free running shit like that. He's very limited in his movesets outside of combat.
Yeah.
It just seems like the design was like there to have the two different characters, and it works really well in like the main stories. It's just outside of that, it's like there isn't a lot of reason to switch between the characters.
It is worth saying, Naoe and Yasuke do not play the same, and they do not get the same abilities at all.
Yeah.
Like, Yasuke gets a bunch of stuff that is only he can
weapons.
get these.
And
the weapons are totally
completely
different.
Weapons. Yeah, which like changes completely how the game works. It's an interesting concept. I just don't know. I mean, it's still early.
I have noticed during some open world sections that there are some doors that you can't Kool-Aid Man with Naue. You have to use Yasuke.
You can't run through doors as Naue at all.
Yeah.
It's only Yasuke can
you
run
have
through
to
doors.
use Yasuke, and he literally fucking Kool-Aid Man and like just fucking bash through walls. It's fucking awesome.
The thing I keep hearing about, like, people who like this game, they keep pointing out, like, the open world stuff doesn't... I think it still has, like, a lot of the Ubisoft DNA, but they keep saying there's, like, a lot of just chill nature areas where, like, this game gets that stuff right and, like, lets you just kind of, like, have quieter moments. And I haven't really looked into what they mean, but, like, what does that even look like in the game then?
There's a few different things I could say. The map is very big, but it's not, like, just chock full of stuff constantly. There's a lot of... there is fast travel, but not everything is fast travel like in the other games. So you have to do a lot of horseback towards like different places. And those horse rides are really fucking... Dude, this game is so stupidly pretty. So there's a lot of moments where you're just in a giant field with like a bunch of particle effects of like cherry blossom leaves like falling around you with like sweeping music. There's a lot of quieter moments like that. There's a lot of smaller moments even like in the main story or some side stories where you just have moments of two characters talking, taking in nature, and then this happens like at the start of the game, like within 2 hours, so I'm not too worried about spoiling it. But if you don't want to get spoiled, just like skip ahead a few seconds. There's a side mission where Naue is talking with her dad, and then her dad teaches her how to play the... oh god, I don't remember the instrument's name, but she just learns how to use the instrument, and it's just like a quick time event that is with like really pretty music, and it just kind of shows around you like nature, and like there's a lot of quiet moments like that in the missions. It takes its time more.
You may think about like how good the music choices are for a lot of the missions as well.
Incredible music.
It's kind of like a Japanese rock band that they use that comes in on some missions. That's crazy.
It's a Japanese Canadian...
What?
It's a psychedelic rock band, and they did a few songs for the soundtrack. And there's one side mission where there's a giant battle, and out of nowhere, these guitars start blaring some fucking super weird, like, heady guitars. And it just becomes like a giant fight with like really hard knocking drums and this Japanese, like, dude, it's awesome. The choices they do for the music is just so good. It's one of the best soundtracks the Assassin's Creed has had. You know, I really enjoy it. I think it's worth checking a look, especially if you are really tired of Assassin's Creed and you kind of want to see it go back to not being slop. Because it doesn't feel like slop. If anything, it feels more like Ghost of Tsushima in a lot of ways.
So far, I haven't fought a Pope under the Vatican, so we're not quite back at peak yet.
Yeah, we don't know much about the Isu, like the old humans or whatever the hell.
It's
apple of Eden.
Yeah, I'm really biting my nails.
It's gonna get fucking so stupid. 100%. They have to go back and talk about the Isu. It has to happen.
I want a hologram projection of like, I don't know, some fucking Abstergo CEO in the past.
Oh, dude,
that's what I want.
Some stupid shit like that is definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, it'll be the fucking CEO of Yves Gilmore will come out on stage and be like, "We're not selling Ubisoft."
Oh god, I hope not.
What was the last one you played, Billy?
Me? Origins.
Okay.
So it was 7 years ago.
It's been longer for me. I think the last one I played was Unity, and I actually liked that one.
Maybe I'm really enjoying this Assassin's Creed. I do think it is very good. Mm-hmm. I do actually think it's good, but it probably also helps that
you've been checked out.
I have not played a proper. Oh, I mean, the last Assassin's Creed I played was Origins, but I did play a Ubisoft Formula game recently, the Avatar game.
Okay.
Frontiers in Pandora. I liked it. I enjoyed it, and it is very Ubisoft in its open world. But yeah, it's been a while.
The last one I played was Black Flag, so I think I've been away from it long enough that if I gave it a shot, it'd probably be.
I think you would enjoy
feel
it.
fresh and novel. It just sounds like, I don't know. I'm such a fucking weeb, so I'm like, yeah, this looks like something I'd be into, but I've just been out of Assassin's Creed for so long.
If you're a weeb, you will enjoy this because there's a main mission where you have to learn how to do like a proper Japanese tea ceremony, and then you have to. They actually quiz you about
really?
it.
Okay, that's
yeah. You've got to bow correct. Yeah. Bow correctly,
and then you have to talk to guests in the appropriate manner, or else they're like, "What the fuck are you saying? Shut the fuck up! Get away from me!"
Got to wear the right clothes and shit.
Okay, that's the type of like annoying dumb bullshit that I love in most games anyway, so that's great.
It's awesome. I actually really like when they do little stuff like that in this game. It like I said, it doesn't always do just there's a castle, you have to stealth through it and kill everybody. There's a lot of small moments that feel like it's just good character moments.
Nice.
Yeah, it is interesting that it's coming out in the context of like all the stuff going on with Ubisoft and them potentially being bought out by other companies like Tencent and stuff like that. Them actually putting out a good game. Well, you know what it seems it's getting a lot better reviews than I feel like Assassin's Creed usually gets.
Yeah, and it put up like a million. It's got like 1 million players in like the first few days.
2 million, yeah.
2 million. Okay, yeah.
They just announced 2 million just now. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, that's not insignificant. I don't know what the last Assassin's Creed did, but that sounds like a good start.
I don't think Mirage did as well as it could.
No way. I don't think so.
Well, they released it as like a budget game anyway, didn't it? Was like a $50.
It did?
Wow. A budget game these days is $70 or $60.
No way. That's
I didn't know it was not a full game. I thought it was just straight up a full game. That's really interesting.
It was like $10 cheaper than standard, I believe.
Yeah, $50 retail.
And it's like, yeah, and then like with my job always writing about fucking game deals, like that was always on every list. And it'd be like $20. So
I know that they just, because of Assassin's Creed, the success of Assassin's Creed, they announced like, what was it? Codename Red, Codename Hex, Codename Jade, Invictus,
the mobile game.
And
but Invictus
Netflix
is going to be the multiplayer one. Dear God, please give me Assassin's Creed multiplayer back.
I am so not interested in any of these fucking things, if I'm honest.
Not even the multiplayer one.
Actually, I lied.
I was about to say, you played Brotherhood's multiplayer with us a couple years ago.
Oh, well, no, it's fine. I don't know.
So fun.
I doubt it's going to be as good as my problem, but it's more Codename Hex is like a one that has a lot of like witchy imagery, like Blair Witch stuff. So that's a bit more interesting to me. But otherwise, I don't know. It's just, I feel like that's a bit too many games.
Wait,
because
Assassin's Creed's supposed to be about history. Witches aren't history. How could they?
Fist fight the Pope or whatever, man.
Yeah. Also, it's very worrying that all of these games are meant to be coming out within like now to next year. So that means we're going to get Codename Red, Hex, Jade, and Invictus within like the next year.
Hey man, they got to get them out the door before Ubisoft explodes.
I'm guessing that they are going to get delayed because how?
Yeah, that's why they have like 7 fucking studios working. Isn't the credits for the game like 2.5 hours long or something like that? Is
that real?
Yeah, no, I'm not kidding.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is over 2-hour long credits.
That's crazy.
A lot of people worked on that game.
That's how you get these games done in a year.
Some of the stuff in the game, there's no way they couldn't have made without like a massive team. Like a lot of those small moments.
No, the team is humongous
as well. Like you think about like how much work just that stuff takes to like, and then fill that out in how big the fucking map is. It's ridiculous.
Okay, I want to go back on what I said earlier. The only actually mainline Assassin's Creed game that is going to be coming out probably in 2026 is Assassin's Creed Codename Hex. That's the only one, and it's being made by Ubisoft Montreal. The other one, Assassin's Creed Jade, is an Android game.
Yep.
And Invictus is a multiplayer game that's like a separate thing made by another studio that I don't know who it is. And apparently what they're saying is that Hex is going to be during the Salem witch trials.
Oh, that's actually a really fun setting for it.
It is really cool. Like,
Yeah,
That's
cool
a good idea. That's what I'm saying. It's a good idea. I really like that idea.
Yeah.
I like witches. It's fucking awesome. They're saying that it's going to be a very different type of Assassin's Creed game, which means it's probably going to be the exact same again with like
it's gonna
a
be
minor
Baldur's
tweak.
Gate. Just gonna have spells, bro.
I'm gonna put my guy Giles Corey in that game. Guess fuck with Giles Corey.
I have not had Assassin's Creed occupy my brain since like middle school, so this is fun. A little bit of a throwback.
They crushed that guy with rocks. The extent of my Salem witch trials knowledge, I don't remember anything else that I learned in school.
Speaking of witches and wizards,
Well, there it is.
Wow, he's so good at this.
I'm so fucking clean. I've been playing R.E.P.O, and is everybody else been playing R.E.P.O as well? Or
I've been,
played some?
yes. I
Dude.
love R.E.P.O. It's so fun.
What a fucking fun twist on the like co-op horror like boom that's been going on recently. I feel like there's been 18,000 of these games come out since Lethal Company.
They're great for YouTube, I will say. But this one, the thing is, usually I like with Lethal Company when that came out, we did play a little bit on like outside of videos or streams, but never to the extent of R.E.P.O. I feel I've played more R.E.P.O. outside of streaming and other like just I've played it more hanging out than any other of these horror co-op
Dude,
games. It's just fun.
It's just so fun. Like the physics twist on that whole formula creates so much just like really emergent fun shit just happening. You know, the fucking laser beam guy
Yes.
destroying all of your fucking stuff in front of you and like fucking kicking you in the ass. Like, oh, it's just like hitting your friend accidentally with something or throwing them around the room. It's great. It's fucking, it's genius, I dare say.
Sometimes your character gets scared and just becomes a ball. It's so funny. It's not. It really does help that this game is insanely cute.
Yeah, the character
The character designs are so simple, but they're just so perfect for making funny moments even funnier because of how you look.
Yeah, 100%.
Them adding like emotions for your character to have it helps even more. It's great.
God, yeah, no, I've just been having such a good time with this, getting further in the game. Like, like, all of the stupid shit you can spend your money on. Like, when you get to the store, just all the landmines. Like, just so many times I've used a grenade and just, it's gone horribly wrong because I've not thrown it correctly or a monster's hit it back. I just wanted to talk about how fun R.E.P.O.'s been.
Yeah.
I'll play more R.E.P.O.
I haven't played any. Well, actually, that's not true. I played, was it Lethal League?
Lethal Company.
And I had a good time with it. I haven't I think I like watching those games more than I like actually playing them. Like, they're fun. They're definitely
That's fair.
An enjoyable experience, but I didn't get the bug to keep playing it. Maybe that was just because the group of friends I played it, like we played it a couple times, but we didn't really have the antics that I see other people have.
Yeah.
So, but the idea of having like a physics engine that creates more of an emergent thing rather than, okay, where's that weird creepy thing that follows you when you move or that sort of stuff? That sounds more interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely makes for a more possibility, makes each run feel a little bit more, at least in theory, sounds like it could be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it really helped. But one of the biggest problems with Lethal Company is once you've seen what the monster does,
Right.
that you can't really get scared or anything anymore. You know, like you're kind of, you know what their thing is now, so it doesn't really scare you.
Exactly. It's like watching other people play and then, oh, they just totally didn't see that there was that machine gun turret there and they got. Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're playing, it's like, okay, yeah, that's another machine gun turret.
Yeah.
All right.
R.E.P.O. is different in that way because the monsters all do pretty basic things, but the reason why it's entertaining is because they interact with the physics engine.
Right, yeah.
And the physics are, they're not random, but they feel random and they kind of add a lot of fun to it all.
It's the Dragon's Dogma of multiplayer extraction horror games. Yeah.
It's like dropping you into a slapstick comedy skit. Like, you know, like I was playing around with a friend the other day and we found this like server rack that weighed a shit ton that was worth $22,000. So, it was downstairs in the fucking randomly generated map. So we had to get it up the stairs on the thing, and it was just like us. It was like a fucking comedy bit of like, you know, trying to move furniture in a house, but the house happens to be haunted by like some duck that's trying to eat you or some shit like that. It's great.
The most accurate way to describe R.E.P.O is that it's just you're helping a friend move. Because some stuff is so heavy, you have to be almost 4 people to be able to properly maneuver it around. So you have to have so much coordination.
Yeah, and nothing fits quite properly in your fucking trolley, like because everything's banging into each other, and then you know a monster comes
you just
around.
need to buy a bigger car.
Yeah, you got to buy a bigger cart, or you know a monster comes around and just destroys everything, and you're like, well, fucking kill myself, I guess. Or in a Minecraft, obviously.
How long do you think this like subgenre has? Like, what's kind of tail do you think it has? Because I feel like
I think we're at the end.
okay, I was
I
just
think
gonna
we're at the
say
end.
I feel like it was between this and then there was what's the one where like you're videotaping stuff?
Content warning.
I didn't really like that one.
Yeah. I feel like this is the third one of those that have really, at least in the circles that I'm in, has really taken off.
I think this is probably going to be the last big one because I don't know what the hell else you could do. It just feels like we're hitting the point where it's just different flavors of the same thing. The physics engine is a great gimmick, but I just don't think there's going to be another gimmick that's as interesting to add to the formula as that.
I mean, I'll never say never. People are
never
clever.
say never. I
but,
would love to see what people could come up with. I don't know. I also just think that people are moving on. Even getting people to play this one compared to Lethal Company or anything, it's a hard sell. And I think it's just after R.E.P.O, it's going to be an even harder sell.
It feels like they're moving on quicker each time too. Like that's kind of what I was asking because it's like,
100%.
Oh yeah. To be fair, Content Warning came out and was very, very, very limited in what it had to offer compared to Lethal Company. And I think that's why it didn't keep the traction it had.
It also built its like entire momentum on like that viral marketing, where it's like, oh, this game's going to be free for the first 3 days, and then it's going to be paid from then on. It is also just like the nature of these games is that they're repetitive, but like to a point. You know, there isn't like a progression system in like a traditional sense. Like, which honestly I'm okay with, because anything that would be like that, like I don't need every game to demand 100% of my attention. Like it's fine just to have a game where it's like, oh, I've got really good fun memories playing that with my friend, and then we moved on to like, you know, doing other shit.
The only way that it could keep going would be to do a battle pass thing. And I don't know if that works for that kind of a game.
Exactly.
I don't know of anybody who is genuinely every night just like, okay, boy, all right, fellas, crack a cold one and let's go play.
I mean, that said,
Lethal Company.
I gotta get my R.E.P.O robot a new hat.
I mean, I was gonna say, don't underestimate the draw of a grind, dude. Like who knows? Maybe there is something there, but
you know what? I say that, but when it comes to Phasmophobia, 10 and I we're always there when there's a new update. And if they're going to add cosmetics, and that's probably going to draw me into the game again.
I just like playing that game a lot because I think it's fun.
I really like that game. The moment you get into the meta stuff, it gets really interesting.
I always tell people that Phasmophobia is fun to run around and yell funny things in the dark with your friends, but when you start like learning how to play it and it just becomes a fun little puzzle game, it's really fun. It's a good loop.
Yeah, I like R.E.P.O a lot.
Yeah.
What else have you been playing, fellas?
Been playing Civilization 7.
Yeah, and how has that been? Because that came out and it immediately. Yeah, how's our boy Sid doing? Good.
He's doing all right.
Yeah.
I can't directly compare it to Civ 6 because it doesn't feel fair. Because Civ 6 has 10 years of DLC propping it up as well.
Yeah, you would have to compare it to
base Civ 6.
Yeah, base 6.
Look, if they didn't want to compare it, they shouldn't have called it Civ 7. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. That's
true.
They should have called it Sid Meier's Pirates 2.
Exactly.
And made it about pirates on the 7 seas.
No, it's pretty good. A lot of the changes I'm in favor of. There are little bits here and there that I think that they streamlined a little bit too much. The UI is fucking abysmal.
The UI is abysmal.
The UI is not great. They've been kind of fixing it. here and there. But it's hard to find shit in menus.
I'm kind of surprised by that because I feel like Civilization has always been really good at having very easy to read menus. At least from a casual's perspective, I can usually get by pretty easily in Civilization 5.
That seems like a crazy thing to mix up in the formula, like where everything is.
Sometimes it just feels weird to try to like find stuff that you're looking for, and then you have to like dig through a sub menu and something else, and it's like, why is this here? Why can't I just see this?
So this is a very common complaint that I've seen on the internet, and some people went in and looked around to see what the difference was between 6 and 7. Do you fellas know who was the QA tester Civilization 6's UI?
Oh,
I do.
I've heard about that. It's
he was not a QA tester. He actually I think, worked on the game.
That's what. Sorry, that's
Cameron,
what I meant.
Cameron, do you know what we're talking about?
You're talking about a young accused man.
We're talking about
young handsome accused man.
We're talking about patron saint Luigi Mangione.
Hey, he didn't do it.
But yeah, no, that's real though.
Yeah.
For people listening, that's real though. He actually, this is not alleged. He actually did do.
Yeah, no, this we know.
Work for Civilization. 100%. Like this is real.
Yep,
truly one of the only things that we know about.
He's not on hand to make Civilization 7's UI work the way that 6's did. So it's too bad. It's a shame.
Yeah. So now here we are.
Denying that man a computer in prison is a hate crime to the Civilization community.
The biggest change that they did with this one is leaders aren't tied to civilizations anymore.
That I really like.
And I really like it because it does open up a lot of different strategies that you normally wouldn't have otherwise. Because usually it's like, oh, you pick this, you're gonna have to play it this way. But now it's like, oh, you're playing as this civ with this leader, so they have these different abilities. As you level up leaders and stuff too, you get like little things that you can use to like equip that give you like tiny little benefits, like, oh, you start with one more skill point for this skill tree, because there's skill points and skill trees now that actually I kind of like. Another big change is they separate the game into eras, so it almost plays like 3 medium length games of Civ instead of like one super long one, which I'm kind of like iffy on. There are things I really like about it, but things that I am not a super big fan about. I don't know. It's all right.
Was it you that talked to me about it?
Probably.
And you were saying how you finished a game way too easily or way too quickly?
Yes.
What was that again?
The very first game that I had played, when you get to the modern era, you can actually win the game. And the domination victory is way too fucking easy, in my opinion. Because before it used to be like you had to capture a bunch of capitals and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was already playing like a military civ, so I was already doing it before. So I got enough cities captured to get the win condition. I just had to like build the Project Ivy, and then the game just ends. It's like, oh, I don't actually have to like really do anything.
It felt kind of limp, like a limp victory.
It felt kind of limp. I won in the modern era way too fast.
I never understood why they make sequels to these games so often. I feel like I feel like a lot of these could be.
You say too often.
You say about
10 years.
It has been 10
What?
years.
Yeah.
Civ 6 came out in 2015.
They just been putting out like updates and
Oh,
stuff.
what the fuck?
They've just been putting out big expansions, which a lot of the expansion stuff is just in base game Civ 7, like natural disasters are just in the game.
Okay.
No
Never
more
mind.
World Congress, which I'm a big fan of. I never cared about the World Congress.
How's that time dilation feeling, Billy?
Yeah, no, that actually fucking hit me like a brick. I actually thought it had been like 4 years since the last Civ. That's
it's
crazy.
It's been a decade.
To be fair, I'm not somebody that pays much attention to any strategy games that aren't, I don't know, Ogre Battle Tactics, Ogre.
Ooh, they redid the way troops work in Civ 7 in a way that I really enjoy. You have to make like commander units and stuff now, and that's how you get all your upgrades. So a little bit more of doing like wartime stuff is like packing up armies on a commander and then moving them to a front and deploying your troops, and like moving the commanders around to A, keep them safe, and B, make sure that you're buffing your troops during a fight.
Okay.
It's fun. They changed that up, and that's one of the better changes in this game. Towns. You can just have a little town now that does nothing but send all of its food to a capital or a city nearby, and does like the occasional little thing where it's like, oh, it makes some gold. All of its production turns into gold, and it's not trying to grow anymore. But then at any time, you can spend money to turn it into like a full-fledged self-sufficient city. So now if you see like a little resource thing that you want, you could just plop a town on it and just forget about it, but you're still getting that resource.
All right.
I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's not worth fucking $70. If you can find it on sale, I recommend it.
Yeah, that's probably why a lot of people felt a bit stinged by the release. At least from what I could tell, a lot of people were not having this game at launch. A lot of people were very upset.
I remember people at the start when Civ 6 came out, people were also incredibly upset at but like because that was like again 5 years after Civ 5. I remember for such a long time. I feel like it's not like that as much anymore, but people were just refused to play Civ 6. They're like, oh, we're only playing Civ 5 now forever.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own Civ game. Certain Civ games just tickle a certain itch a certain way. Because I know people who really love 5, or they didn't like 5 and they finally got it with 6. And then certain changes from 6 to 7 that they're just like, oh, I'll probably just stick with 6 because I prefer this, and this. And it's like, that's totally fair. You don't have to play the newest Civ game.
Yeah. I think for most people, at least for most people, I'm saying that as myself, who is a casual player of these games, whenever somebody's like, hey, Civ 6 is on sale with all the expansions. You guys want to play it? And it's like, yep, let's do it. That's usually it's better to just go back one game and play that.
And like when you're talking about like how different Civs scratch different itches for different people, can you like imagine someone where Civ 7 is gonna like do that for them, that like maybe the previous Civ games didn't click for them? Do you think this one might?
If you have ever played Civ 5 or Civ 6 and said this is too complicated, I wish it was a little simpler. Civ 7 simplifies a lot of it. I've been telling a friend who really liked the Civilization Revolution games, which are like the mobile ones, like the actual brain dead simple ones, that he would probably actually like 7, because he tried 6 and he's like, it's just way too complicated. I can't keep track of all this stuff. 7 streamlines a whole lot of things from 6. It makes it a little bit easier to just like glance at. Like you don't have to manage builders anymore. It's just when you expand a city, it changes a tile to whatever you want it to be.
Gotcha.
That being said, they need to make it a little more colorful. One of my biggest complaints is it is hard to tell what I'm putting where. Because in Civ 6, everything was like color-coded.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, all of my culture buildings are like bright purple. All of my science buildings are bright blue, so I can just see them wherever.
Oh, it's like not readable enough.
It's not readable at all. Like, they look really nice when the cities are growing. They look super cool. But it's like, where the fuck is my library? Because I need to build over the library with a better, like, university or something, and it's like I can't fucking find it. I have to look through all of my tiles to try to figure out where I put this stupid thing. Needs a little more color in the buildings, but the presentation otherwise, aside from the UI, it looks pretty good.
Okay. Do you play other 4X games as well, Tim?
I do not really know.
Actually, I was going to ask about that because I have multiple times almost picked up Warhammer 40k Gladius.
The only other one that I know about is Endless Space, and I hear that one's good.
I've dabbled in Stellaris, but that is a very different kind of game.
Hey, Brendan, what have you been playing?
So, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter. Before Monster Hunter Wilds came out, I put like 50 hours into a fresh save of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. And then after I was done playing Monster Hunter Wilds, I went back to Monster Hunter DOS. Because I've never played Monster Hunter DOS. I've started with Freedom 1, which is the port of the first PS2 game to PSP. But then DOS never came out in America. The second gen game I played was Freedom Unite, and then, Try 3 Ultimate, yada, yada, yada. So that was like one of the big blind spots for me, was DOS. And it has a reputation for being like one of the more unforgiving and mean
Buster
games. Yes.
Yeah.
It's fucking true, dude. I love it. It's such a cool game. I don't know if it's the kind of game that you would go around recommending to people, but it is a game that it's all the kinds of bullshit that I appreciate, and it's been a good time. Just for an example, you know how like in most Monster Hunter games, you'll have a farm or something, especially in like the portable ones that ease up on the gathering.
Yeah.
And they've gotten more and more convenient over time. Even like Freedom and Freedom Unite back in the PSP, those had farms. Monster Hunter 1 made it so that, you could go get potions and whatnot not easily, but it wasn't too bad. In Monster Hunter DOS, like you will regularly start missions with no potions because you can't fucking afford them. And then you will spend like 20 minutes just looking around, making sure that you can find enough stuff to put together like 5. And then you'll get hit by a low level Velocidrome once and you'll lose half your health. And then you'll just be fucked.
Christ.
And then not only are you fighting a Velocidrome, each time you're fighting the fucking small monsters in this game, dude, are as deadly and annoying as big monsters. The Hermitars they just hide in the ground and they pop up and they're faster than you and they beeline it to you across the map and then they just poke you 3 times and you're fucking out.
That's so insane.
And you bounce off their shells with your low level weapons. Like for the first like 10 hours of this game, you're going to be bouncing off their fucking shells.
Does this game, because I know that Monster Hunter in general, they were always pushing a lot for the online aspect. Does it change the scaling of damage and health that monsters have when you play solo versus multiplayer?
Yeah. So
I was going to say, is the reason why it's such a ball buster because it expects you to do these missions with other people?
no. So like the village is just that brutal. And then this is like all low rank. I haven't even gotten to high rank or anything yet. So I'm playing a patched version. Like it has an English patch. Came out last year, and it also
That's pretty recent.
and there's a server. So some friends and I have hopped on and done some online hunts. It's a lot of fun to join up with your friends like in any Monster Hunter. And, you know, the bullshit that happens in those single player missions, they still happen in the online ones, but it's a lot less infuriating when you're just with your buds like laughing about shit. So
Yeah.
So it's been really nice. But I mean, we'll get into it later, but like part of why I wanted to go back to DOS specifically, other than the fact that I hadn't played it before, was I wanted to kind of refamiliarize myself, I should say, with how the Capcom applied friction in older Monster Hunter games.
Yeah.
Because like when I was playing 3 Ultimate, you know, there's still a lot of friction there. You know, which I think it's important to distinguish that from difficulty, right? Like there are things about every Monster Hunter game that's hard. Like there are some hard monsters, but what's often difficult about them is just the way the game pushes back against you. Sometimes things were janky, so it was kind of doing that on accident, but a lot of this stuff is definitely on purpose.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see like, okay, am I right in remembering that these games push back against you on purpose so much? And they do. And one of the cool ways that it does is it has a season mechanic. Now, Wilds kind of brought this back a little bit, but this game has it's constantly changing from night to day. And then there are 3 different seasons: There's a hot season, a rainy season, or I guess cold season, and a breeding season. Depending on what season you're in, it changes like what maps you're allowed to go to and how the maps look and whatnot, and also what monsters will show up. If you go out and you gather some ingredients for your, what are they called? Palico to cook for you back at your thing. If they're out of season and you cook with out of season ingredients, you get debuffs. So your attack decreases. And like, yeah, dude, it fucks you up. And
That's so fucking mean.
And if you want to overcome that debuff, you have to go sleep in your bed. But in order to pass enough time for it to go away, you have to pay money. So like you are stuck with this debuff.
You really have to be on top of your shit.
You have to pay attention to stuff.
Yeah.
And there's like a bulletin board in the middle of the village that says these little tips, and they open up as time goes on. In this game, herbs are not called herbs. They're called sunrise herbs and sunset herbs. And I spent 4 hours of this game not knowing how to make a fucking potion because I didn't check.
God.
I didn't check the specific section of this bulletin board that explained it. Dude, I was like,
what's the difference?
So one of them makes potions, the other one makes energy drinks.
Oh,
and
I
you
see.
Combine it with a blue mushroom. Yeah. And so they didn't add button prompts to when gatherables were gatherable or like carves were.
Oh, you just have to know the model.
Yeah, you have to run around. And so I was picking up these sunset herbs and these sunrise herbs on things that I assumed were like the herb plant. That's what it looked like in Gen 1. I assumed that was the case here. And I was so confused. And I like hours. There's only one gathering quest in the whole game, and I was spending hours just going through that, all the, like, every single season, trying to figure out which one it was. Of course, I finally did. Like, I just thought, like, this game hates me, and it kind of does. It really kind of does.
Kinda,
but, like,
from what you're saying, it kind of does actually.
and it's the kind of thing where, like, thank God that they patched in the online stuff, because sometimes there are weapon upgrade trees where you will upgrade it in the village, and then you have to go online to the online forge and get the next step of it. Otherwise, you're done. Like, that's as far as you'll get in the village, and vice versa.
That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
That means that back then you could buy this game. I guess you couldn't because it was Japanese only. But if you were a small Japanese boy, you would buy this game, not have online, be fucked.
Yep.
That's so insane.
Like, a really common way that I would play, especially Freedom Unite or 3 Ultimate, would be, okay, I'm going to go out and fight this really hard monster. I'm going to take 10 potions, 10 mega potions, and then 10 herbs, blue mushrooms, and honey, so I can make extra along the way. So if you do that, that takes up, 5 slots of your inventory, right?
Yeah.
In DOS, you have, I think I'd have to double check. You have like 20 item slots that you can have. Those can only go up to 10. That's all you can carry of anything, can only go up to 10. And if you fill that up, like on a gathering quest, or like you're slaying small monsters to get their parts to also help you upgrade, which I should say, like, you can get monster parts from like gathering from honey. Like, you'll find like Kutku scales and stuff like that around. So like, they do make it so that you can find other parts around, and small monsters are actually very helpful for getting upgrade materials and whatnot. Like, their carves or whatever are more beneficial and show up more often in upgrade trees. But let's say you do that, you beat the quest, you get the drops that you wanted, you can't send stuff back to your box. So you have to decide, like, what you found on the quest do you want to discard and bring from the quest rewards. Like, it is so stringent on what you can and can't do.
I'm going to be honest, I don't hate that too much. I kind of like the idea of having to pick what you think is more worth keeping, you know, like picking and choosing.
It feels so good to be playing a video game that makes me answer difficult questions.
Yeah.
And this is a thumbstick attack game, right? This is
I was like, in the back of my head while you're talking, I'm just thinking about fucking making my goddamn swings with my right stick.
Yeah, and
wait a minute. Wait, I didn't know that.
You didn't know about the control schemes of, the early Monster Hunter?
Early Monster Hunter used like Ape Escape?
Yeah, yes. So Monster Hunter 1 and DOS. Monster Hunter 1 and DOS used thumbstick attacks. So let's say I've been playing Greatsword because there's no Switch Axe in 2nd gen. That came in 3rd gen. So I've been playing Greatsword, which also, okay, they combine the weapon tree upgrades. So if you want a longsword, you have to start with Greatsword, upgrade it twice, and then turn it into a longsword. Like, you don't get,
that's kinda,
it's kind of cool. Like, it's a neat idea, right?
I like that, because that would force you to like
try
play
out
with the other stuff.
Yeah, so like, if you've been playing longsword, let's say since I played it a lot in 3rd gen, and like the bread and butter attack pattern is like, what is it? You do the upswing, and then anyway, you're just kind of doing a combo that's between triangle and circle, right? And then that's like the bread and butter combo. Then you have like the spirit slash, whatever, which is not in this game. It's just the combos. There's no like extra mechanic there.
I see.
So if you're going to do that in this game, it's like you hit right on the stick, and then up on the stick, and then right again, and then you click in on the stick to do the jab part, and then you go back up. Like, you have to really memorize the combos.
It's an actual like Skate 3 combo.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Oh my god. I did not know they used to control like that. So that means Try is the first one that didn't do that. No. Well,
no, the PSP ones didn't do that. So like Freedom 1,
yeah.
That was my first Monster Hunter game. I didn't realize it until like years later that I went back to like PS2 Monster Hunter 1. Oh shit, that's not how those games controlled.
That's so fucking weird, man.
Yeah, so I have friends that are playing a patch that puts the camera back on the thumbstick, but what that does is it basically turns it into like a combo-based fighting game. So like you have like 2 or 3 attacks available on the face buttons, but then you have to like press down R1 to like modify it to do the other 3 or 4 moves that are available to anything. I haven't played it that way, but yeah, it totally changes what Monster Hunter feels like. The mental stack that's happening at any point in time in this game is so much higher even than those 50 hours I was putting into 3 Ultimate. It's a lot. Like sometimes, like I have always been the type of person who like I will unwind with something like Monster Hunter or Dark Souls or even like Kingsfield and shit like that. But there's a mental stack in this game that feels like I'm doing like end game fucking Final Fantasy 11 content. Like it's so much to keep track of. And so I haven't put as much time into it because like I get like mentally exhausted after a few hours of trying to fucking kill a stupid Plessy off with the most bullshit hitbox.
We love that hip check hitbox.
It's so dumb. And then like, I don't know, there's like Congalala in Wilds is a pushover.
I fucking hate Congalala.
In this game, dude.
Hate that fucker.
It's like the scariest son of a bitch. You're like, don't fucking fart at me.
Is that the one that farts?
Yeah.
It's the one that farts. I fucking hate that goddamn monster, dude.
Last night, I walked directly into a Congalala's asshole and was just demolished. I went from like zone 6 of the swamp into zone 7, and he was right there and just farted the moment I zoned in, and it carded me. I like just fucking was done.
God, I fucking hate video games, dude. What an awful sentence.
It sucked so bad, and I loved it. I loved every second.
It kind of feels like he was made as a fuck you. Like, yeah, you just fucking died because he farted on you, dumbass.
And right after that, your cat ran over with a cleanser, and you didn't have to deal with it.
You don't have no cats. No cats.
I know.
You're completely by yourself. It's so weird. But like every monster in this game is a fuck you. And like Velocidrome is the only monster that I have been like that was like the first one where they like the first main hunt. And you can stun lock the fuck out of that monster. But it also has like 20 fucking Velociprey that follow it around everywhere. So like you can beat that thing pretty quick, but you better hope that like you're not getting stun locked by all the fucking little guys. There's so many cool little mechanics in this too. Like you don't get a ton of money. I mean, it's not terrible, but you don't get a ton of money in some of the missions. And the way that they balance it out is there's like a bounty board that literally it's like a stock market where,
oh my God.
Oh yeah, Velocidrome is down, but Bullfango is up. So I guess Bulldrum is up. So I'm going to go hunt that guy instead. I don't know. It's cool. And I think a lot of this stuff was re-explored in some way in Wilds. Like I had a tweet when I finally got to high rank. I was like, oh shit, they were hiding the fact that this is secretly a Monster Hunter DOS spiritual successor. But obviously, like, they're entirely different experiences. Like, if Wilds was your first game, then you went to DOS, you'd be like, these are 2 different franchises. They have, like, nothing in common other than the fact that they look similar.
I feel like you'd have a bad time.
I mean, yeah.
Well, it depends what your brain is like when you're going in it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if you're going with the right headspace, you might be like, this is
where's my fucking dog?
Right. In the group of friends that I'm playing in, like I think there's like 6 of us that were kind of like going in and out of, sometimes someone will be online or not. There are a couple people who don't like the game but are enjoying it, because we're all playing it together. But then my friend Brandon and I, like, we are thinking about this game when we're not playing it. Like, it's that level of enjoyment. So, even from people who like that sort of like older Monster Hunter thing, it's a super uneven, divisive game.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Speaking of Monster Hunter, let's move on to Monster Hunter with Jonno.
Took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly how I was going to segue it.
Really? You're not so smart, are you?
God. Welcome to the interview portion of the show. Today we're joined by Jonno. He is the Senior Community Manager for Capcom Europe and is here to let us in on the secrets of community management. Welcome, Jonno.
Hello there.
Secrets.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I know. Going to open up my grimoire of community management.
The old tome. Before we get fully into the specifics of your role, I just wanted to know a little bit more about you and like how you got into the video game industry.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've been in the video game industry over a decade now. It's just making me feel old.
For me, I've been on YouTube for almost a decade. Only 2 more years.
Look at us.
Ooh, we're so fucking old.
Yeah, it's interesting because community management is non-vocational. And I think every community manager you talk to has a different path into the industry. So for me, I've always been a big nerd ever since I was a child. And I would always be involved in like online forums, game communities. I'd try and go to events. And I actually come from the countryside. And in the UK, the games industry is kind of traditionally very focused in a few key areas, namely London, a little bit in Cambridge and things like that. But yeah, basically I was super passionate. I kept going to events and being involved in the communities of like Xbox. I was big into Xbox when I was young. Through that, I basically naturally networked. I never set out to network. I was just really pleased to be where I was. Yeah. And I met people and then I started playing games with them. I was really big into Battlefield. And it was through Battlefield that I actually kind of started to get my break into the industry because someone I was playing Battlefield with was linked to EA. And one day I just got an email off them saying, hey.
That's crazy luck. What the hell?
Yeah, they emailed me saying, hey, you're really good at Battlefield because I was an insane helicopter pilot and as well as pretty good at shooting. And I got asked to come down to interview for a co-host role for a show to promote Battlefield. And it turns out when I got there on the day, the person who was meant to interview for host no-showed. So I interviewed for that instead. I got it.
That's such a series of incredibly lucky breaks.
There's the thing that a lot of what I'm going to say about this is you make your own luck.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you need to, go out there, go to things, try things.
All you need to do is be crazy good at helicopter and Battlefield. And
just fly it backwards through a tunnel or something, And
this could be you right now.
So and through that, I got involved in local communities in Battlefield as well. And I experienced community management. And I was doing community management, but I not professionally. And then a role came up at Jagex. So you probably know them mostly for RuneScape. And I applied there. And the marketing director, I was super fresh, really passionate. I was very raw and very rough in regards to my skills and things. But she could see the passion and she gave me my first job in the industry. Basically, the key thing is one, you make your own luck. Go out there, be involved in communities. If you're, especially passionate about certain games, get stuck in. And off the back of that, when you're looking at community managers, a lot of the time, people ask for experience, and this doesn't have to be industry experience. Are you involved in big Discord channels, Reddit pages? Do you have your own fan groups you're part of? Do you post social media anywhere? Things like that. And it's kind of taking that and then applying it into a professional kind of area. But that's kind of like in a nutshell how I got my break in the industry. And when I interview CMs joining us now, I look for passion. I look for people that are trying to do the job or can give examples of what they've done. For example, we see streamers can make good community managers because, you have to, and content creators like YouTubers, because they have to cultivate a community, engage with the community and things like that. But, the key thing is though, that's my one path. But as I said earlier, every CM has a different path into the job because every company looks for something totally different as well.
Yeah.
I just also wanted to clarify a bit because I feel like there are definitely a lot of misconceptions about what community management even is. I feel like a lot of people think it's just, and we'll get into a bit of those misconceptions.
All my questions are going to be how I have no fucking idea what CMs do, even though I interact with them so much in my life. To be fair, interacting with a community manager as a creator is very different from a normal person.
But yeah, I just wanted to get like your perspective on what community management is.
For me, and now I say I'm a huge gamer. I always have been. I love video games. I love the connectiveness that it brings. I've met so many people just from playing video games. Not physically met them, but you know what I mean. Built friendships, engaged with people. So for me, as a consumer, looking at it from kind of a player perspective, I want a community manager to kind of feed back the core comments and concerns and things we like to the devs. So, I used to play a lot of Destiny 2, for example. So I want to be like, oh, is this balanced? Or, hey, we missed this mode, or this content would be great, and stuff like that. So I think from a player perspective, I want someone that you can feed back to if you're really investing a lot of time and money into a game. For me, as the community manager, it's my responsibility to be the bridge between the community and the devs, to kind of highlight what information should and needs to be fed back and presenting that to the team so that they can be aware of, this is what the community like. We've seen some, grumbles around this thing. And it's also, letting the community know that their voice is being heard. I think these days, when people look at games that have like, they're not just like a single player game that you put out and then it's not updated anymore. So you look at other games, you've got like Helldivers 2, which is ongoing, Monster Hunter, which is ongoing, Destiny 2, as I said earlier, which is ongoing. People are looking for more than just something, to just and not connect with. They want this online experience. They want that sense of togetherness, and they want to know the game they've chosen to play is valuing their time and values them as a player. Because, they're pretty nothing worse than like committing hundreds of hours to a game, buying DLC and all of that, crafting your perfect character and becoming really good at the game, and then just kind of, feeling like that isn't appreciated. So yeah, feeding back to the dev team and letting the player base know that they're in the right place and that, we really value their time. And also putting out some banging tweets.
Yeah. All right, name your favorite right now.
Name my favorite tweet of
favorite tweet. Yeah, your favorite tweet. Name 5 tweets immediately.
Greg, Ryan, Margaret. I don't know, like, it's a lot of, I might just say one of our own ones, we always like a cheeky Kezu tweet or something on the Monster Hunter account.
We love it. We love a good that dude looks like a
swan.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it reminded me of. Yes.
I knew it.
So you guys, I didn't realize how closely you guys work with the developers.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there has to be like a bridge between community and the developers. I don't know. I never put 2 and 2 together, especially for ongoing games.
This is an interesting one because every company is very different. You might have seen that in some companies, community management is kind of taught as like, or seen as a like the unsung hero, the kind of person they keep under the stairs to like do viral tweets or whatever. And it's not really fully respected as a medium, and that, that's not the case across the industry, but there are absolutely places where I think that is the case. Whereas, at Capcom, we're incredibly lucky. I really feel, and all of the other community managers are incredibly respected and valued, but I think that's because the dev team themselves value community and their player base as a concept. So as a community manager, they want to know what's going on. So, once a week, I have a meeting with the dev team and we talk about things we're seeing. And it's an incredible privilege, not only as someone who loves Monster Hunter, but as a community manager to, have that direct contact on a regular basis to discuss core things about the game. And once again, I do truly believe that that's because the devs care about the community. They value the community. And, with Monster Hunter, you've seen it from, in the West at least, being this kind of niche game to really kind of jumping onto the scene with World. Yeah. And obviously, once again, now with Wilds. And I think the team really appreciate that.
Wilds is the most successful Capcom game of all time, right?
At launch, at least, yeah.
Or at launch.
The plan is for that to absolutely be the case, Yeah. But the launch, it really broke some records for Capcom and obviously Monster Hunter by default. Yeah. Which is incredible, and that's thanks to, once again, the players and the community for really getting behind us and rallying at launch.
I'm wondering actually just specifically about that. Like, what are some of the like unique challenges that come from launching a game, especially one that's as huge as Wilds? I imagine there's like a lot of communication going on between, because you're specifically for Capcom Europe, right?
Yep.
Is there like a lot of communication going back and forth with the different regional stuff and coordinating on that to try and get that cohesive like plan and idea about how you're going to launch this game?
Absolutely. I mean, the community managers tend to be the faces of a game alongside, like key dev individuals. What that means is, a lot of people know, because they've not been told or aware, is there's a huge team behind us. We are just one small cog of that, and we just happen to be the cog you can see as community managers. And we work. We've got business services, brand managers, marketing, sales, just within the Europe team alone. And then I have my US counterpart, Joe, who is the North American community manager for Monster Hunter. And more recently as well, we've expanded. We have multiple regional CMs throughout the EMEA region. So we're all working together to get ready. And at Capcom, community management involves social media. The community management I mentioned, it involves working with content creators. So you really are kind of like a Swiss Army knife.
How do you get the all the data or information you need to like how do you get the info from the players?
So there are like analytical kind of tools that some teams use, and we kind of pull from that for like a broader scope. But for us, I mean, all of the community managers on Monster Hunter are huge Monster Hunter nerds. We know the game inside out. We love the game. So I feel like, as a community manager, you kind of need that, because how can you understand what the really passionate core players or more casual players think if you don't play to like hell, if you don't love the game?
You couldn't do the job if you didn't care for the game 100%.
I think it would make it really challenging to kind of really quantify what you're seeing if you don't, kind of thing.
I'm sure you could try, but damn.
Yeah, because it might be like, why are people so aggravated that this weapon doesn't hit as hard? It's only a weapon, but as a Monster Hunter player, you're like, your weapon is your identity.
Yeah.
So it's important to look into it and things like that. But yeah, it's so basically, myself, Joe, the other CMs, we're always on Reddit. We're always going through social media. We're going through Steam. We're going through content creator videos, checking in on streams. And, I know that gives you kind of a perspective on like one part of the community, because it tends to be the most engaged that will be posting on Reddit and things like that. But, we're going through kind of like Facebook comments and stuff like that. We're always looking, always reading during the day when to see what the discussion is. And I think, you've just got to immerse yourself in this. So we see the memes, we see the compliments, we see the criticisms and everything in between. And I feel that's important, and we take notes. And I think the benefit of having a team that's kind of, there's always a member of community technically working apart from weekends because of time zones and stuff.
Yeah.
You're always seeing what's going on. And yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. There are some kind of broader tools, but there's nothing that really beats good old fashioned having CMs in there looking.
Okay. Because I was just wondering if there were like in-game tools that you guys might be using, like I don't know, any analytics on like, oh, how many players are doing these quests, or how many people engage with these systems in the multiplayer or whatever.
It can be a useful thing to see, how are the player base getting on with certain content and things like that. So that can help you shape like, should we explain multiplayer a bit more, or
do you guys actually have these types of tools, like in-game tools with that give you back data?
I wouldn't know specifics, because that's firmly like based it on the dev side. But if we're like,
gotcha.
I mean, you can look at trophy rates as well. Like, like X amount of people have completed the story because this many, the trophy's been unlocked this % on.
Yeah, I guess I would have never thought about that.
But yeah, I imagine there are tools or like that. To what extent, I don't know, because that's firmly developer side. So I wouldn't have access to that kind of data.
And so when you're like conveying this stuff back to the dev team, what is the format that you do that in? Are you like doing like presentations, or are you like calling someone up and like being like, hey, I've, this is what I've been seeing?
Yeah, so it's two ways. We have PowerPoints around big events or big, so launch, you have a big old PowerPoint and then you'll talk through it in the meeting. But other than that, it's just verbal. So we work with a team that can speak Japanese and English, and they localize for us in the meetings. Once again, kind of highlighting how multifaceted the team is and how committed we are to kind of sharing that information. So yeah, we do it and chat through it kind of live, Kind of like we are now.
And word art in the PowerPoints, cool transitions.
No, I keep it simple because all the PowerPoints have to be localized and translated.
Ah,
So yeah, sometimes we like to put a page at the end, which is like funny community memes and community artwork and
Oh,
things.
that's fun.
It's a nice little kind of palette cleanser.
And when you're like looking at community feedback, is there like a part of you that's like, okay, this is what is within the realm of possibility for like changes, like
all the time. Like, if someone's like, oh, there's this balance thing that, maybe the team should look at and we see enough sentiment behind it, or it just makes a lot of sense, then, we can feed it back. But if someone's like, I want you to add 2 new weapons to the game now, it's like, well, that's just, it's
All
not
right, I'll
within the
stop
realm of
asking
possibility.
then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right,
there you
you
are.
gotta stop
So, like,
asking,
we
man.
won't feed that back because it's just, it's kind of just bluster. So yeah, it's very
lot
much
of
like,
picking and choosing
is this
what's
realistic? Is
relevant.
this topical? Yeah, relevant is a very good word. Rather than or is it just purely kind of hyperbolic?
And community managers, and that's one of the big. I mean, to me, I reckon it's a misconception, but because I know that there's social media managers
Yes.
and then community managers, and I don't know where the line is.
Well, that's the thing. There isn't really. It's a squiggly line. In some places like Capcom, community. I mean, technically, I'm a community and social media manager, but like, community managers do social media. But in other companies, there will be a dedicated community manager that will only be in certain areas, and then there'll be a social media manager that will be running the social accounts or curating content for those. So each company has a different idea of what they want their community or social media manager to do. Which, if you are looking to become a community manager, is something to be aware of. If you get a rejection from one company, or you look at the job description and you're like, what the heck? It can be very, very different at another company. It will be very, very different. So that is something to be aware of. And you actually raised that really nicely because, it's different at every single company, whether what the role entails, if you are like single community manager who does social media and influencers, or are you a community manager that is dedicated to certain areas and you work alongside influencer manager, social media manager, which are, all very distinct professions.
And what would you say, like, when you're talking about community management, like, what are like some of the key things that people usually just don't get, or just assume that it's one way or another? Because I feel like community managers of like a lot of the roles in the games industry is one of the ones that is like less understood.
Yeah, I mean, that's very understandable. I get why that is, because it's ultimately still, I mean, I've been one for like over 10 years now. So I was going to say quite junior in the grand scheme in regards to how the role exists within the industry. But it's also a role that's always changing. Like, these days, community managers also live stream. So you're a bit of a content creator as well, in many cases, and things like that. And I think, you see the jokes like, oh, the social media intern, a lot of people kind of view these roles as turbo entry level, or, it's something anyone can do. But you'll be surprised that, and I don't like toot my own horn or anything, but it is something you really need to apply yourself to and think about what you're doing, think ahead. Like, community managers also kind of do marketing plans and social media plans that can span months in advance. You're the person that's writing the social media that defines the communication and messaging. Do we need to think about something we need to message in advance, for example, and things like that. So there's a lot that goes into it. You're not just writing funny tweets, or trying to be funny on Twitter anyway. There's so many different aspects to it. But that also means you can really craft your own niche as a community manager. Like, one thing I love to do when I interview community managers to join the team is I like to ask them, and this is something that, any prospective community managers out there can keep in their back pocket, is what's one area of our work, or like, that we do on social media that you really, really like? And that's easy. That's an easy question. You could be like, I love your Kezu tweets. And I'll be like, thank you. Like, +1 point.
I love how it keeps coming back. You
Everything
really
comes
are
back.
proud of those.
And then the next question I ask is, what's one area you think we might not be doing very well, or something we're missing? And what would you bring to the table to address that as a community manager? You can come in and you can look for opportunities to help broaden the community, like a company's engagement. And this one shows, has this person done their research? Do they care about this community? And 2, how creative are they? what's their expertise? Because some people might be really good at creating assets. Some might be like a really big PC specialist. Some might be incredibly good at the game and know what hardcore players want and things like that. And it's kind of given them the opportunity to kind of show where they would fit on the team and what they would bring to the table. So I think it's a really nice profession to kind of shine as who you are and what you really enjoy.
You said something interesting that reminded me of a quote, and I cannot remember who originally said it, so I apologize for not being able to attribute it properly. But the idea goes that you start playing a game when you first watch the trailer, and that someone's engagement with the game in terms of its marketing and its community really reinforces and changes how they are going to feel about that game going into it, especially with, like, I imagine when you're launching a new game, that can be super vital. Like if someone sees a bit of, writing online or something like that, or some official post, that can really influence, that person's decision on like if they're actually going to stay engaged with the game. And I think that's like something that I see a lot with community management being super important.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times it might be a brand manager, in other places could be a social media manager. But, in my experience, it's the community managers that write, the title of the trailer, the description, the messaging around what you're seeing. And, that might be different company to company, and obviously things like that, not to kind of brush it all across and say, yes, community managers do every banging trailer you like, because it's not the case. But yeah, you directly influence what people see in that impression. And one thing I like to talk to about when I'm working with more junior CMs or those that have just come in is when you're doing some of these posts, you need to think, like you said, what if someone who had never heard of Monster Hunter saw this trailer or saw this post? What do you want to message to them? Because, we have the luxury of like the existing fan base will probably have a good idea of what they're seeing. But, if someone sees this for the first time and they're like, what the hell is this? You want to bring them in and be like, come in, this is fun.
And I imagine that's like a somewhat difficult balancing act of you're trying to engage with new people while not alienating that core group of like players who are already super invested in like Monster Hunter or whatever franchise.
Exactly. I think, when you've got a franchise like Monster Hunter and other kind of games that have kind of got that history behind them, you're lucky that, your community will do a lot of communication and kind of new players excited as well, because like, why are these people so excited about this game? This sounds good. I want a piece of that kind of thing. And I think we're incredibly lucky on Monster Hunter side to have such, and it sounds cheesy, but such an incredible and welcoming community that, like if we announce a monster or something like that, like recently we announced that Mizutsune is coming in title update 1. And, everyone's like, oh, yeah, this monster's so cool. And then other people are like, oh, it's cool. I mean, if players are saying it, we don't have to say this monster is cool. Play this.
Yeah. My husband is a huge, he basically made his job because of Monster Hunter. He's an artist.
Oh, wow.
You probably know him, actually. Boo Radley on Twitter.
No way. It's Boo Radley. Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's my husband.
Wow. But it's a small world.
Yeah. When Mizu got announced, I just heard, oh! from the other room.
And now you want to fight it, right?
I already fought it. He was in, wasn't he in?
He was
in Sunbreak. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Sunbreak. Okay, I did fight him. He is very fun. I really like him.
Yeah, he's a good fox.
He's very princely, and I kind of like it. He has such a vibe. He has a great vibe.
He does. He's got an aura. Really bubbly personality.
How do you feel community management has changed since you've gotten into the industry? Because you're talking about like how it is like an always evolving kind of discipline.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think the role has become more integral. I say that, in some places it's seen as kind of like a very tertiary role, but I think in many places now, it's valued and it's seen as a core role in the marketing team. And as part of that, I think, being more front facing, like doing streams and things like that have become more important. I think having editing skills. Now, you don't have to be like a professional editor because heck, I'm not. But basic Premiere Pro skills, basic Photoshop skills, like can you slap an age rating on something? Can you crop a video and stuff like that? Very, very basic editing skills. Being in tune with what's going on social media, what are current trends, what are kind of popular things, what's going viral, what's working on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, etc., etc. So, it's changed a lot from when I started, when you might just have the Steam forums, which I love, by the way. As a CM, I love the Steam engagement tools, like with news posts and stuff like that. But yeah, I think, and the thing is, it's going to change again in another 6 months to a year, whenever, what else kind of comes out. So yeah, it's very, very tech focused and ongoing trends, being able to engage with people. I mean, you've probably seen plenty of social media accounts that kind of go about it in various ways, from like Wendy's going full aggro on their audience way back when. And, obviously, like how humorous and really leaning into the community culture that like the Sonic the Hedgehog account does really well. And obviously, who could forget PlayStation and is it 19 inches of Venom or something like that? Or Sephiroth? I can't remember which one it was.
Oh yeah, it was Venom.
Yeah, Venom.
It was Venom,
and like absolute bangers like that, so it's knowing what your community likes. I joke about Kezu, for example, and it's knowing when to have a laugh with your community and when to kind of be like, right, here's some stuff you want to know, here's this, here's that, because as I said, it ultimately ties into, you want to create this group, this place where people want to spend time and they feel valued for wanting to play the game and invest in it. It's the same as me. I want that too as a gamer. I'm like, I think that's why we've seen a rise in things like Discord servers for game communities as well. And we're seeing developers really value that engagement that I think, in my opinion, indie games really pioneered, because when you're an indie game, you haven't got the budget, you haven't got the fame or the renown. So how do you get around that? You engage with the player base, you make them want to stay because their input is valued. And I think kind of the AAA space has kind of been cottoning on to that. And going, hey, we can do that too,
Mm-hmm.
And that, which I think overall is a net benefit to players, but it's a tricky space because with communication, especially more interpersonal communication with like Discord or being more visible on Twitter, you make yourself quite vulnerable and open to people finding out more about you, being brigaded or just nasty, mean comments. So it's an interesting one. It's a space that I think is very malleable and it can be very nice or it can be very toxic, and it's a difficult thing to juggle.
Yeah, I can imagine that being like, especially when so much of that stuff is completely out of your hands. If there's like a negative sentiment around a game or something like that, and you're the community manager, you're doing the messaging, but there's a lot, your actual ability to affect or like your responsibility for that is you're front facing, you're the one who's going to see all of that stuff.
Yeah. And I think that kind of stuff is fair. I mean, I think community managers be in the front when there's good things or exciting things. You kind of people heap praise on you, and so I think I have no issue if someone's like, I've got this bug issue, or oh, this is annoying me, or oh, my game's crashing, or oh, I don't like this mechanic or something, which is fair enough because I think I don't mind having like constructive criticism or negative sentiment passed over to me because that's what I'm here for. It's only an issue if they're like, you effing this, what are you doing, you idiot, and stuff like that. Because, for me,
I mean, that's not even constructive. That's just...
Why are you tweeting? Go fix the game.
Yeah, I mean, that one makes me laugh because it's like, I don't know if they're memeing or if it's they genuinely think that I've stopped coding to do a funny tweet.
Yeah, stop tweeting about Kezu. Get back to the
where's my new weapon?
Yeah, that one just makes me laugh. But yeah, I've been very lucky in the Monster Hunter community because, and when you get these kind of messages as well, you need to realize it's because people care. If people didn't care about your game, they wouldn't get frustrated about a hiccup or something that they don't necessarily like. So I think that's an important perspective to have as well. People, even if people get a little bit sweary sometimes and stuff like that, it's like, it's because they care. And they want to have as much fun as possible with your game. And in an industry that has so many amazing games, it really is a privilege to have people that want to play, say your specific game. So I get it. And that's why I think, we're fine with it. As long as it doesn't divulge into personal attacks, not a problem. And also, for those that are listening, we do also have dedicated customer support lines, which gets those kind of things straight to the dev team. So, that can help out personal situations. But I get it. And I'm glad that people know where I am so they can express that kind of feedback, good or bad, because that means we're doing the right thing, and they know that their time and money is being well spent.
Talking about like changes you might have noticed over like your time working in community management, do you feel like the focus not necessarily completely shifted away, but has changed on like how you view like traditional outlets, like new stuff, and like how you liaise with them versus the increasingly independent and like content creators and stuff like that, and different like outlets, and how that's changed since you first got into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think just before I got into the industry, content creation wasn't really a thing. YouTube was kind of in its infancy on that side. It was all COD montages and things like that, back in the day. And content creators really rose as a force in regards to marketing, messaging, this whole new thing that just didn't exist. And it's kind of a cornerstone of like social media and society. A lot of news posts about content creators, and they kind of reach outside of the gaming sphere or the beauty sphere or fitness, whichever kind of one they fall into. And I think it's been really interesting to see how they coexist alongside traditional outlets such as press. I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to the shop, get a magazine with a demo disc on and stuff like that.
Oh, bless.
And I still do regularly check, certain games sites and stuff like that for news and things like that. And I think it's really interesting. I'm glad that we have both. I think it's really, really important to have gaming press and gaming journalism. And I think content creators bring a whole new angle, marketing, to being aware of games. Like, there's a few games I play that are indie games that I only found out about because I saw them on YouTube from a content creator playing. I got influenced by an influencer.
Yeah, and you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, I think we're very lucky to have both, and they provide different services and different types of content depending on what you want. Sometimes I want to sit back, read a little article, while I'm chilling. Sometimes I want to watch a 10-20 minute kind of let's play. So yeah, it's really interesting to see it go from kind of very like pure press outlets to kind of 50-50 press and content creators. And I think, as consumers, it really benefits us to have options and to have both.
Yeah, because there used to be like a time where when you're launching a game or demoing a game, the only people in the room are going to be like traditional press outlets. And now it's like, it feels like they might even be the minority compared to content creators who are being invited out to these events and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, obviously I'm not an expert on this side, but, you've seen press outlets, ones that we grew up with even, being shut down or having to hemorrhage staff, which is awful. It's not good for the industry, and it's not good for consumer choice and consumer knowledge. It's crushing because, these people are big gamers as well. They're doing what they do because they love it. That's been pretty, not good. And yeah, content creators have come in even more to kind of fill that void. And because obviously by and large, they're independent. They do their own thing. So yeah, it would be nice to see our gaming press being protected and invested in more.
Yes.
But yeah, content creators have just brought a whole new angle and a whole new audience. It's a very visual audience. And, it's really interesting to see how the landscape changes, especially because you have streaming, you have, short form content has really exploded, with Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that. So, you've gone from like these long videos on YouTube to people doing shorts or, doing even smaller videos. Like there's a Total War content creator that does really funny YouTube shorts, for example. And I think it's Zerkovich or something like that. So yeah, it's great ways of like finding new games or consuming content that you like, whether it's informal or entertainment. But yeah, it's just a shame that the press side is being kind of stripped away piece by piece. And I think when it's done like that, you have to be careful because one day it's gone and you didn't see it happening.
Yeah, you just reminded me of Game Informer, because I was just like thinking specifically of how great those Monster Hunter covers were, and like that's just like such a loss for just the industry as a whole and games journalism. Because I remember like seeing the ice. Sorry to cut you off. The Iceborne one where it first revealed like the armor and stuff like that, and how much that like actually like I was like, oh my god, I'm fucking look at this, like me and Ian were sharing it and stuff like that. This could be me.
Yeah. People like to try and dunk on one side or the other because like, oh, I didn't like this person's opinions. I didn't like their views. And it's like, great. Well, there's loads of other people who you might align with, or maybe you pick something up that you didn't realize from reading this review or watching this video. It's the same, with on the content creator side, you'd be like, oh, I don't like that creator. He thinks that the way I play is wrong, or he rated my favorite weapon a C tier and it's definitely S. And it's like, we'll just watch someone else, and it's having that choice, which is important, and having that variety of people to go to, whether that's press or creators, that benefits us all as consumers. Kind of talking purely as someone, being a big nerd.
Honestly, that was pretty all-encompassing.
Yeah, I hope so. I kind of warbled a bit, but I think a message I for the, as a whole, community managers do what they do because they love gaming, and they are very likely huge gamers themselves. Obviously a lot of the time, all the time we're representing the companies we work for, and we can't always say like, oh, don't worry, this is going to be fixed on this day, or oh, don't worry, this thing's happening in the future or something like that, because that's the nature of game development. But do know that any community manager, social media manager, they do it because they care, and they're big gamers themselves. They're not out to get you. They want you to be enjoying your time with the game. They want you to be happy, and they want to bring people together. Like, I know I said it at the start, and it sounds very cliche, but I do believe that gaming can be a huge force for good because it brings people together. And the only thing that defines who you are and how you're perceived is how you communicate with people. That's it. Like whether that's voice, text, stickers in the case of Monster Hunter, you can go out there, you can meet people all over the world, all different backgrounds, and just have a good time. And I think that's great, especially, when we went through the kind of the height of the COVID era, when we were all stuck inside. Gaming is a force for good. And I think it's a privilege to be a community manager and be part of that. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is be nice to community managers, please. But yeah, that's kind of my TLDR on it.
What a great note to end on. Thanks so much for joining us, Jonno. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me too. It's nice to chat a bit about community management. Monster Hunter's awesome. You should definitely check out Monster Hunter Wilds.
Jonno remembering at the last second what his job is.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can just take that soundbite and just put it in about every minute and a half.
Yeah, every minute.
Every minute. Yeah, I'll do that.
Real subliminal. Put it on like quite low, so they're like, man, Monster Hunter.
Add a shit ton of reverb.
A little bit of. I'll add some Kazoo screams from time to time, just so we can just remember. Like, oh, right.
You remember the hypnotizing scene from Zoolander? Have it a bit like that.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Exactly that, but Kazoo.
Yeah. Buy Monster Hunter Wilds. Buy Monster Hunter Wilds.
Welcome back. I don't know.
Wow, you fucking okay?
I was thinking of a segue. I was like, you know what?
Wow, welcome back.
We've had too many this episode.
Owen Wilson transition. Wow, welcome back. Wow.
Isn't that amazing? All right, class. Lock in.
I'm locked in.
Locked in. We're here to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds.
Before we start, I do want to say that we did get a pre-release copy of the game.
I fucking didn't.
I didn't.
As well as other little things. Okay, well, fine.
And I played on launch like the rest of these plebs, I'm one of the people.
Well, you're one of the people, and I'm special, I guess. They sent me a hibachi grill once.
What's your opinion from your ivory tower then, huh?
Yeah, huh? All sunshines and rainbows up there?
Jesus. Oh, man, you actually want me to start?
What did Capcom tell you to say?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Oh, man. So here's what Capcom paid me to say. That's a lie. That's not true. I want a disclaimer. That is not true.
I have been lying.
I've been lying.
Did not get paid.
Obviously, we didn't get paid, but I did get an early copy, and I did play pre-release. It's fine. It's I don't even know where to begin with this game, because it's a gigafuck game in a way, where it's just there's so many things I want to talk about with this game. Mm-hmm. But I guess let's start from the beginning. Low rank.
Low rank was an interesting choice for this game.
Womp womp.
I fucking hated low rank, dude.
I hated low rank.
Really fucking hated low rank. The fact that it was 12 hours. Oh, dude, I genuinely think.
Skip those cutscenes. You can get it in a tight 8.
Yeah, you can. I got it.
Yeah.
Sub 8. I want to say.
Yeah, I was like 7 hours.
I skipped everything. It was boring. I did try it. I kind of tried at first to be like, okay,
Yeah.
Let's learn a bit. Let's learn about some more lore for this shit. Oh my god, it's so boring and bad. I don't care. I'm sorry.
It's not that it's boring and bad. It's the way that the game delivers its story to you just makes me not care.
100%. From the first cutscene, I was on board, right? And that was the stuff that was in the demo, I think. Before the game launched.
Yes.
Where it was like an action scene and like your character's doing these crazy DMC shit. And it was like sitting your character, I was like, oh, it's just going to be like a dumb fun, I'm a badass, like beating up fucking, like monsters or some shit. And then the game like grinds to a fucking halt during low rank in terms of the way the story progresses.
It's just the way that they actually convey any kind of like story stuff to you is you sit on a secret, it moves for you, and then they just talk at you about what is going on. And it's like, dude, I haven't fought a monster in like over 20 minutes. I'm itching. You need to sick me on something right now.
I have a hot take. I think the secret fucking sucks. I don't like him at all.
I don't like the secret either. Look, I didn't like the Palamute in Rise.
I agree.
I don't particularly like Rise. I like Wilds better than I like Rise. But anyway, this is the same thing. I don't need that. I don't know. It's a weird, especially the fact that it just goes on its own.
That's the word. Why did they make that change?
Well, it's because of the complexity of these maps. Like the verticality and the multiple pathways through these maps is impressive from a technical and design like layout point of view.
Yes.
My assumption is they must have had a lot of internal playtesting that showed that like we made these maps too complicated and people couldn't figure out where the fuck the monsters were. So we had to give them not only are they always visible on the map, but like your secret goes directly to it.
Yeah.
I get that, like as a solution to a design problem. I get why they did that. I don't particularly like it. You can take a little bit more manual control over in that instance, but like the story moments and stuff, like it's mind-numbingly boring.
Yes.
It's just the least amount of hunting I've ever done in a Monster Hunter game.
And it's crazy. Like, I don't want to just right out the gate be too negative on this game because there are things about this game that I really like. I think this is when it's going well, when it's firing on all cylinders, it's a really fucking fun game. Like, absolutely.
100%.
And I enjoy so much about it, but there are a lot of things that I was disappointed with and a few things that I actively dislike. And that whole secret thing is part of it. So I wrote a written review of this, and like the way that my whole thing was like, they took a lot of the friction out of this game and left a lot of the systems and whatnot. And that makes for a really weird, uneven experience. And the entirety of low rank, like I didn't engage with anything that you normally engage with in low rank. I wasn't gathering stuff except for when I was on the back of my secret on a auto walking thing, like,
and you had nothing else to do but
had nothing else to do.
And you tried to go gather, but then the game was like, you're not supposed to go over here yet. You've got to listen to the people.
I've seen this argument being like, hey, I mean, at least we don't have to do like 10 hours of gathering quests and fighting small monsters, right? And I'm like, dude, at least I was playing a video game.
Yeah, exactly. Low rank has always kind of sucked, but I don't think this is the first time where it's just straight up boring. At least I was actively doing something before.
Yeah.
I want to defend walk and talk sequences as a like narrative conceit in video games as general. Like they can be okay. But in the specific context of what a Monster Hunter game is, like the reality is like I'm trying to, when we're talking about these like massive gaps between fighting monsters, especially in the low rank, this is exacerbated, at least in my experience, is like on the day of launch, the first thing you want to do is you want to play with your friends, right? So
Yes.
I'm in a call with people trying to fucking play Monster Hunter, and I'm sitting there on an unskippable cutscene because I'm on the back of my horse, so it counts as gameplay, while I'm talking to my friend who's also doing the same thing, and we're trying to link up exactly where the fuck we are in the cutscene, so then when we get out of it, one of us can leave our instance and go join the other one to actually do what the fuck we want to do, which is fight a monster. And it's just, for a game that is all about sanding off the edges and making it as easy to get to the actual hunt as it does in high rank, it is just like this most insane design decision to start the way you first interact with the game with none of that. With you are sitting behind some people listening to some fucking conversations while you're like trying to figure out the weird online system that Capcom's decided to throw into their next Monster Hunter game that's different from the previous one.
And it is so fucking weird too. There's so many different types of multiplayer.
Link, squad, party.
Fuck me,
Environment
dude.
Whatever,
It's,
Environment Link, which is so stupid.
they made it so fucking convoluted, dude. Jesus Christ.
Like Worlds was annoying too, for the exact same reason of like
100%.
I gotta sit and wait for a cutscene, but like the system,
How did it get worse though?
yeah, but the structure was still the same. Of like, I accepted a quest, I went, I skipped the cutscene, my friends can all join, or I throw out an SOS flare, my friends can all join. This is like, yeah, okay, well you did that, and now you got to make sure that you're in the right thing. Oh, did everyone get through the cutscene? And then, we beat the boss, and now we're all removed from each other's instances again because of another unskippable cutscene. It's so weird.
The hunts are significantly shorter than they have been
Way
previously.
shorter.
This is the easiest low rank has ever been.
Like, isn't necessary, like, it's not inherently a bad thing.
No, it's
for
not.
the kind of game that Wilds is trying to be.
When it becomes that game finally, yeah, it totally
Yes,
works.
But the problem is, like, when you're in low rank and then the hunts are shorter and you're not having to engage with any of the other mechanics, like, I didn't change my armor set or my weapons once during all of low rank. Because I was just like, I gotta get out of this.
There's no reason.
My old Monster Hunter brain saw that the Balahara set had good switch axe skills. So I fought 2. The one that you're supposed to fight in the story quest, and then I went out and fought another one. And that's all I needed to do to get the entire set. And then I never fought actually, that's not true. I did the same thing for that big monkey guy because I like that he had like a Wukong looking set.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, right?
But that was it. Like
a lot of these armor sets look fantastic. I will
every
say.
single other mission was like one and done. I didn't have to worry about like, oh, well, this other monster is weak to poison. Maybe I should make a poison axe. And I should probably make this decoration or this thing to fight against its stun lock or whatever. Like there was none of that. And it's fine. But there's just like this. I feel like it backfired Capcom in 2 ways. One, there's people like us who have played Monster Hunter before, and maybe we're like looking for that immediately in a low rank, and it wasn't there. And okay, we get to high rank, we're like, okay, now I have to think about this stuff a little bit more. There's a lot more stuff I can engage with. All right, cool. I'm not doing a cutscene every 5 to 10 minutes. It really is just go out, hunt, and in this kind of open-ish world. Cool. But then there's people who are going into this game, and I know 2 of them personally, who they go through low rank and they go, I get what Monster Hunter is now.
Oh,
and they
man.
think it's a boss rush. I'm going to fight this thing. Oh, then I'm going to get some story, and then I'm going to fight this thing. Excuse me, I'm going to get some story. Maybe there's a little bit of side stuff, but I can ignore that if I don't want to. Like fish or make a bunch of armor. Like that's for the diehards, right?
Yeah.
And then they get to high rank, and all of that stuff blows up, and they're like, oh, this is what Monster Hunter is.
Yeah.
And they fall off hard.
Interesting.
To me, low rank and high rank are more than they ever have been. They're not the same fucking game at all.
That's not how it used to be. Like, they used to be very
There
much
would
the
be
same
specs.
game.
Yeah,
Like-
there would be like little tasters of what's to come, at least in low rank. But
Yeah.
this is the first time where it's like,
Even just structurally.
Not even similar, dude.
Yeah, like you're going up to a counter, you're taking a quest, you're going out, you're fighting the thing, come back, you see what you can upgrade, you check on your farm, you know, combine a bunch of stuff. If you have to go gather, you go do that, then you do another quest. That's what high rank is like, that's what low rank is like, that's what G rank is like, or master rank in other games. And it's not what it's like in Wilds. I mean, it's high rank isn't that way either, but like, yeah.
I don't think it's fully bad that it's that like different, but
no,
it should at least introduce you in some capacity to what high rank is like. Because if low rank is supposed to be in parentheses tutorial for when, like, something that prepares you for when the game just goes, all right, fucking go for it, like, just no more hand holding, it should at least try to ease you in it. It doesn't, though. I almost dropped Wilds fully during low rank because I was genuinely hating it so fucking much. I was very negative on the game.
I was super disappointed. I really thought like they took everything out.
Yeah.
Like I was really disappointed. I talked to Super Rad. I talked to some other folks that were like, no, I mean, like the game is still there. You just got to get to high rank.
Yeah. That's literally the only reason why, was because while I was playing pre-release, I went out for a beer with Super Rad and I was just straight up like, this game, I hate this fucking game. It sucks. And then he was farther than I was in the game and he was like, no, dude, trust me. I swear to God, after 12 hours, it gets better. And God, it's real. It's true. After 12 hours, it does get better. But 12 hours is a big fucking ass for anybody.
Okay, 8 hours, skip all the cutscenes.
That's a lot of time. Even if you skip all the cutscenes, 8 hours is so much time, dude. I could watch the entirety of Lord of the Rings. Jesus.
It does seem like some people, especially like new players, like I was saying, do at least enjoy that. And then I guess they can jump off when they hit high rank if that's not for them, you know? Like,
that's not, yeah.
Let's be real. We are going at it as longtime fans of the series now.
But even if you take a step back from that, and let's think about it this way.
Yes.
Like, just why would Capcom do that, right? Why would they have basically two different games? One that is this incredibly linear, you do one big fight, a bunch of cutscenes, one big fight, a bunch of cutscenes, and then it's a completely different game, right?
Yeah.
The only reason that I can think of is that I sound like such an elitist dickhead, and I promise I'm really not this way. I promise.
So don't worry about it.
It's a way to get people who would never play Monster Hunter otherwise to buy this game and to play it, and then they'll set it down and whatever. Capcom doesn't care if they're not fighting. I don't want to spoil the last couple monsters in the game, but there's some cool returning monsters and stuff and some really cool new ones. They don't care if you don't see that. What they care about is that you spent $70 on it. And even if you set it aside and you thought, well, I mean, at least the first part was fun, cool, I'll move on to like Call of Duty or whatever. Like those are the people, like they don't really care about that. For people not hitting high rank. For people like us, they're probably thinking like, well, we got to do stuff that keeps them involved or whatever. Yeah. And I think they do that to varying degrees of success. But yeah, I mean, that's why low rank is the way it is. And they said as much, like, oh, we think it sold this well because, you know, we focus so much more on the story.
I mean, and fuck, it sold, bro. It sold.
It did.
The fastest and the biggest numbers ever for like a Capcom game on release.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% right in the thinking on why it's the way it is. I just think that it isn't a zero-sum game. Like, you can have a game be more approachable and more accommodating for people who maybe aren't as familiar with Monster Hunter, or that isn't specifically like, just there's so much stuff in low rank that makes me think, why can't I just do this with my friend? Like, you know, playing, like, I'm going back to like 360 era, like Army of Two, for whatever that game's quality. At least the entirety of that game, I'm actually being able to play it with someone else, you know?
I mean, 3U and Try on the Wii and the Wii U, you just went to the online hub and you did quests there. Like, you didn't have to you didn't have to worry about, other than making sure that, you know, people in your party were at the right hunter rank. That was it. Like, you just had to make sure that you couldn't out hunt somebody or whatever.
And the thing is that Rise was like that as well, which is the baffling thing to me, is that the game just previous had a better system. I mean, maybe it wasn't that kind of traditional.
To be fair, it is done by the
it's the portable team. Yeah.
No, I get
portable team. So it's
I
gonna
get
have
that they're different
some
teams,
major
there's got to be communication going on there. On like, I mean, you'd hope.
Yeah.
They have folded the teams more into each other, as I understand it. I don't know how the teams are now structured or what sort of resources they completely share, but they absolutely, I mean, just the fact that the secret is such a follow-on from the Palamute.
Exactly.
That's just a Palamute.
Right. Like there has to be some level of crossover there.
But like, yeah, anyway, I want to stop talking about like what I because
let's
I'm going to be really
off on low rank.
because I'm going to be really honest. Like once I got to high rank, like once I've kind of like got to the point of like this is what this game is now, and I don't have to fucking deal with low rank again. Do you know what it actually has done? Is I used to like think about World of Warcraft like level 90 skips and shit like that, and be like, who the fuck would do that?
Right.
You know, like why would you pay money to skip something?
Yeah.
And playing through low rank of Monster Hunter Wilds is like, man, I might have bought.
I get
if
it.
I could have spent
I
an
would
extra
have
$10 and
Dude,
skipped low rank.
Not to give ideas
that's-
to anybody, but I would have paid at least $10 to not do that.
Well, actually, so as kind of an interesting kind of counterpoint, a friend of mine, we were talking about this, and they were like, well, played Monster Hunter World on PC, and I had the Defender gear. So that was basically what their experience of low rank in World was they just had one armor set, one weapon set. They spent 10 hours going through it. And to me, like I'm thinking Monster Hunter World, wow, I put in the base game alone with like 100 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so they did in 10 hours what I spent like, at least a portion of 100 hours doing before getting to Iceborne.
Oh,
so
right. The Defender armor, just to clarify,
trivializes it, yeah.
It was you would get it from Iceborne, right?
Correct.
So that
So,
you could
like-
go through worlds.
Well, they just patched it into the game once Iceborne was out, or just before
so that
Iceborne
you could
came
just
out.
fucking go through
Yeah,
it.
so you
Yeah.
could like full
Yeah.
blitz through world. People got mad about it. Actually, they were like, "It's trivializing the game."
It is, but they were saying like that's basically what they did that in Wilds for everyone. I get it. I get why, but I feel like it's an odd choice, and I'm very curious as to like what this game would look like if it was just Monster Hunter from the drop and still had all that story.
Yeah.
Like maybe it would have felt a little bit less of a. It wouldn't be such a baffling difference.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Let's talk about another game. Let's talk about high rank.
literally.
Where the game gets good and fun.
Yes.
I was joking earlier about how I hated Wilds, but I actually do not hate Wilds at all.
Hate low
I
rank.
really like Wilds. I just hate a big part of Wilds because high rank is fan-fucking-tastic. I have a lot of issues with it, but I don't think they're issues that are like what's the word? I'm blanking out. Deal breaker. They're not deal breakers.
There you go. Okay.
Sorry, my God, sorry about that. Jesus. I'm just so fucking full of hatred. I'm forgetting my words. I'm just grunting like a caveman. I'm so angry about this game. It's not there. I have some issues with high rank, but none of it is like proper deal breaker. The combat is so good. It's some of the best combat in this series. It's fantastic.
I am really enjoying a lot of the game's changes in specifically gameplay. And Brennan, I think you were talking about how you weren't so much of a fan of Rise, and I'm in a bit of a similar boat. I played through base Rise, I played a bunch on the Switch, and then Sunbreak came out. I didn't I played through a lot of it, but I didn't really connect. Like I wasn't playing it in the same way that I was playing Iceborne, where it was like, oh my god, I've got to get everything, get every armor set and all that stuff. I was like, man, just something about this isn't clicking. And to be honest,
Yeah.
I think it was like how different it actually played to Worlds. Like I really love just like Worlds combat specifically. And
Yeah.
Wilds really recaptures a lot of that because you're staying on the ground for the most part, unless you're a fucking weirdo with a stick playing
Insect Glaive.
insect glaive, yeah. Unless you're French, and then you're in the,
That was my weapon. That was my weapon in Worlds.
then you're in the sky all the time. But Wild's just like just being able to aim your moves, which I know not everyone's a big fan of. I find
I'm mid on it.
It's one of the only things I really have a big issue with.
really,
Yeah.
I see. I fuck with it.
Like one of the main things with Monster Hunter is like the risk of aiming and maybe fucking up, and that's gone now. That's gone now because of that. And also just in general, the wound system, where like with the focus blade, the focus mode, where you can like stun lock monsters when they have a wound, I just don't like it. I just don't like that you can stun lock that hard.
I think there's some balancing to be done with the wound system. Like, I'm not specifically talking about, like, I have kind of issues with the wound system where I don't have them with the focus mode specifically, if that makes sense. Like, I like the control that you get from the focus mode, being able to aim your stuff, especially for weapons like, not Charge Blade, but like Greatsword, where it like completely changes the way that weapon kind of works in a lot of ways, because you're still committed to your attacks, but you're less reliant on the monster doing the very specific thing you think it's going to do, which is, that takes away from the kind of having to know a monster in its like very granular detail of its entire moveset and like what it could do out of it. But I don't know. I think I like that because it feels like I'm not getting bullshitted sometimes when like it goes out of like a one animation into another one, which like, fucking Raffian's like, oh, it's flying for the 18th time this fight. I guess all my attacks can't hit when I'm Greatsword.
I'm more in line with you, Billy. I get it. There's so many things in this game, like when you look at what it's trying to do, it makes sense in context, and that's one of them. They're trying to make this game where you're just going on these rapid fire hunts, right? And so having you be more on top of the monster, and your 90% of your hits are landing rather than 50% of them, like in some of the older games, or like 10% in like fucking DOS. That's such a deep change to the way that the game's difficulty works, that I don't know if they fully balanced it in the other way.
Yeah.
And I don't want stamina check fucking Dark Souls Elden Ring bosses from Monster Hunter.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not looking for Mikola in Monster Hunter. And frankly, that's an issue that I have with the direction of a lot of FromSoft games. Is I liked it when it was more of a slow wind up kind of thing in the older games, more like Monster Hunter. And whereas like, I don't know, it's a weird thing to do that in Monster Hunter nevertheless. So I do feel like if you're gonna, you had to give the monsters either more health or really change up some of the move sets, or have more of a trade-off with focus mode, because like there is that thing that you can do during focus mode that's like it's like an auto combo. It's like a one button combo kind of thing. And I believe that if you look at the damage numbers, like if you did the math, it's way less effective to actually do that. It's easier mentally to just be like, I'm going to press this button, it'll break a couple wounds, but you're not going to do as much damage as if you optimally hit the right combos, right? That exists.
The problem with that is that
the monsters are already so easy anyway.
Die so fast.
If it actually hits a wound on the monster when you do the focus mode auto attack thing, it literally stun locks them. They cannot move, and it's a bigger problem.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
The other thing with that, to add on to the problem with wounds, is that it rewards you immediately. You get a piece of the monster. So you're incentivized to be doing that.
Not going for it is just shooting yourself in the foot.
And look, I have. This is where my problem with wounds comes in. I try and separate the focus mode and the wound system out, because I feel like the focus mode like can work, and it is dependent on a lot of those things, Brendan, that you're talking about, where it be like the monster health bar, or like they're having more moves, or what have you, or like more tracking moves even. Like, that would be a way to deal with focus mode, because then it's like, you're aiming it properly, but the monster's still being able to fucking slam down on you, which, that, like, yeah, there are problems with the wound system, though, 100%.
It's a good game, I guess, though.
I really am enjoying it. And, like, once I've kind of, like, stepped away from, like, it's not going to be the same kind of slow, methodical, like, I've got to really think about it. Fuck, why the fuck are hot drinks back? But whatever, who cares?
No, you love hot drink. You love cold drink.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like, if I forget them, it's like, oh, but there's a bug right next to me. I don't really need to worry about it.
There's no reason, yeah.
And that's the other thing. Why the fuck do I get a free cleanser and a free health pot in every arena? Because my cat will go grab it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's was the whole like crux of the review that I wrote was like the removal of friction, but the keeping in all those systems, it makes a lot of things feel really weird and superfluous. You know, I get why they did the season stuff, and I think there's some really cool stuff there. And sometimes it does impact gameplay, but I kind of wish that it was like, no, you don't get to decide what season it is. It's just gonna be that way, and you gotta wait for the next like breeding season if you want to do this quest or find this monster or whatever. And I get why they didn't. They want it to be, they want you to hop on and have like the most optimal fun time in this game. And I don't think that is like bad game design. I don't think that is an inherently wrong way to design a game. It's just weird coming from a history of Monster Hunter where that was never the case. And so like a lot of what I've been trying to do with this game, and I have clearly not been doing a very good job of it in this discussion, is trying to be really aware of the fact that like just because it's different and not what I expected or normally want from a Monster Hunter, there's still stuff that I like. And that's not a bad thing. And it's okay to just take this game as it is. Nevertheless, even in removed from my own like preferences, there's just some weird stuff in the context that like, I don't know. I feel like the NPC meals would mean more if you had to like if you really had to seek them out and like do something, like you really had to go out and like gather for every single one. And you couldn't just have like people going out and getting rare stuff for you. And like same with the trades, like if you had to go to them directly and you couldn't just go through Nata and be like, hey dude, what does that person in this other village want? I don't know. There's just little stuff like that I'm like, Capcom clearly wanted people to engage with some of these things by not having any consequences for either ignoring them or like doing things, like just making them so easy to engage with. They just feel like they don't mean much. And I find that really odd.
There's also some stuff that I wish they went more in on, which is like to do with a lot of that new stuff that they've added. Like, is it Balahara? Is he the, like, he's the one that like jumps into the sand and can create the sand well, like the sinking sand shit. Like, dude, that stuff's so fucking cool. And I wish there were way more monsters that interacted with the environment in that way. That's like the one thing that I wish in the title updates, instead of getting Mitsune, which like it's a cool fight, whatever, there were some new monsters that like they can really kind of go, because that kind of design and stuff is like where this game's like, oh, this is like some shit I haven't actually seen before.
People are thinking that maybe Legaia Cruz is going to come back. If that's the case, then like, I mean, it was an underwater fight in Tri and 3U, so I don't know if that would work, but there is like Abyssal Legaia Cruz, which you may not as much on. Maybe I'm thinking of there's two different versions of Legaia Cruz, and one of them, or two different subspecies, I should say, and one of them is like only on land, so maybe that would be the version. But anyway, I feel like that is to say that I feel like a monster like that is known for being like in the water, maybe you could add some other cool stuff that like what Balahara does with and I guess Uthduna does that with the waves and stuff. Like, I think I really like the design of that monster. Actually, if there's, just to finally just say something outright fucking positive, I think so many of the monsters in this game look sick as fuck. Like, they are so rad. Uthduna looks rad.
They're almost always a fantastic fight as well.
And the fucking not having gendered armor anymore. Like being able to mix and match that shit.
Yes, finally, dude. Like, you can make some great shit.
For people who don't know, the end game of Monster Hunter is looking cool.
It's fashion.
So being able to access all of the different options and like really get down and be like, this is how I want to fucking look, and all of the different color. It's like there's a lot of stuff there for people who are super into that side of the game as well, which is great. The other thing about it is like, I'm wondering if, because what always happens is that the base game comes out everyone's like, man, this isn't specifically what I want for Monster Hunter. And then the expansion comes out and was like, oh, they've solved so many of my problems that I had with this game. Which,
I mean, it's usually the title updates.
yeah, and then the title updates as well help.
That's
getting
one
one
of the
in
yeah,
April.
because we don't even have a gathering hub yet. That's coming up with the title update 1.
I'm really curious how that's gonna work because it's such a like the way that the
It's already
openness of the
open.
game is. Yeah, and then so it's like, okay, that could add. I mean, I'm sure like people who want that space will be really stoked about it. But I'd like to see like it would be cool if it was like you just somehow connected to all 4 maps or 5 maps or whatever, and like you just like I'm just gonna go out this exit and I'm immediately in that space. That would be fucking dope. That would be really cool.
I would like that a lot, actually. Also, like it's kind of weird that you can fish, you can capture net, but little critters, but you can't.
No house.
You don't have a home. You don't have a house. You don't have anywhere to look at them except in a menu where it's just like, you caught this. It's this big.
Yeah.
Good job. It's like that's such a weird thing to include in the game if you're not gonna go 100% in on it.
Gathering Hub's gonna become a fucking MMO suburb where it's just gonna be rows of player housing.
Oh my god, no, that would be.
Oh
okay,
my
wait.
god, housing in Monster Hunter Wilds. Fuck off. No.
This game already feels to me like the phantom pain of Monster Hunter games where you can just kind of be out there taking on missions like in the open world. And then you only need to go back to base when you really need to stock up or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is very rare, to be fair. But like if you had a place that was like almost like a mother base kind of a thing where like you were like, I'm going to bring back stuff to decorate it. And that would be fucking cool. That would be rad.
That would help with the end game for sure.
I need a counter of how many nukes exist in the world.
Yeah.
How many Arkvelds we have to go kill.
How many Arkvelds you need to fucking blow up.
Dude, Ray Dow, hella cool fight. Such a cool fight.
Right.
Ray Dow,
Oh,
dude. That
God, he's
also
sick.
that's another thing I want to shout out is like the animations in this game and the hitboxes for the monsters are like perfect. I want to
good.
say.
I feel like we need at this point to remind people that we are positive on this game. We like this game.
Yeah.
Because all we've done is complain
just
about
like
it.
the actual game. You have to get
so
through
fucked
utter
up.
shit before you hear us like talking about how good it is.
I have extremely nuanced and complicated feelings about this game, like clearly, but ultimately, I think it's a dope game.
fucking
I'm
fun.
so looking forward to the title
Yeah.
updates. I'm going to keep playing it. It's a lot of fun. Like, obviously, I can go back and play Dose if I want a game that's going to be a bunch of bullshit friction. And that's not what this game is, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, you can go back and play any other of the other games if you're not happy with what you got.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I do wish it was different, but a lot of this stuff is not bad different. It's just different.
I would love actually. Do you know what I want to hear from people in the comments?
Yeah.
If this was your first Monster Hunter game, how did you feel when you got to high rank?
I would be really, really interested in that.
Were you with the game up and through low rank oh god, I'm so curious because I just can't. My perspective is always poisoned by the fact of playing through other Monster Hunter games, or at least a few other Monster Hunter games.
But I just can't imagine playing through low rank and not being completely fucking bored.
So the friend of mine who was into it for the most part, like his favorite kinds of games were like The Last of Us and Uncharted, so like these really cinematic sort of action games, and he was getting a lot of that from, and he likes like Dark Souls and stuff to a certain extent, and maybe like God of War would be maybe a better comparison.
Okay.
So he thought he was getting some of that with the low rank stuff, and he assumed that like that high rank was going to be like another bigger, more difficult set of monsters in this, like how's the story going to go from there? And then he was like, where's the story? Like, I'm not to say that there isn't, and there's still plenty of story stuff in high rank.
There's gonna be more story stuff coming up with the title updates as well, from what I gathered.
Right. It takes more of a back seat, and you can spend hours between cutscenes if you want, rather than 20 to 30 minutes between cutscenes. And so, I think that was what the surprise was like, oh wow, this game is more like, he was saying like Destiny, or like an MMO.
Oh man.
and not which are not the kinds of things that he's into. He doesn't like grinding.
Right.
He doesn't want to like redo a bunch of the fights over and over again. He was really confused as to like, well, why do I have to? I already fought these things. I thought I was going to fight new stuff, and so yeah, that was a big like source of confusion.
Did he try playing it multiplayer? Like, did he just sit solo low rank?
He soloed low rank. I think he had actually he was already feeling a little bit burnt out by the end of low rank, and was not necessarily like, he wasn't down on the game. But then when everything blew up, like all the new systems, and all of a sudden he's like has all this armor crafting stuff that they're like trying to funnel him down, and he was like, this is just not it.
They really do just like, they're like, hey, congrats on making it to high rank. And then you get like 20 menus in a row that are like, here's a new thing, here's a new thing, here's a new thing, here's a new thing. Have fun. And it's like, what the fuck, man?
Pretty much every time you interact with Smithy up until that point she's just giving you free stuff. So it's like you're not even told to engage with these mechanics, or like, I don't know. It's just such a confusing decision.
Oh God, we're doing it again. We're doing it again.
We're going in circles.
All that to say, Monster Hunter Wilds is
good game,
but different, and that's all there is to it, really.
An uncomplicated sequel.
Yeah, different isn't a criticism. I think that the way it tried to be different created some weird inconsistencies, and that's where the criticisms are.
100%.
It's not like, oh, this isn't like old Monster Hunter, and I will be honest, there's a part of me that feels that way, 100%.
Yeah.
But like I said, I try to take this game on its own merits a little bit, or as best as I can, I should say.
It's more that it's confusing the parts that it keeps, but the parts that it changes.
Right.
At least for me.
It's being pulled in two different directions.
Yeah.
And they do not feel the same.
Yeah, I think a really good parallel is something like Final Fantasy 16, where it's like, okay, I don't need it to be a turn-based RPG, but it's this half and half thing. Then there's these weird inconsistencies, and Capcom will definitely figure this stuff out. Whether it turns into the vision of a new Monster Hunter that I have in my mind, it doesn't really matter. I think, though, that they have so many players now to take feedback from, new and old, that I'm sure that whatever the title updates bring, and certainly whatever the Master Rank expansion brings, will be a more holistic and just better experience. And that's to say nothing of the like performance stuff, like, because I know people have had a lot of problems with that. I haven't personally, but
I've had so many
I
problems.
bought it on console, so I've not had issues.
yeah, same. I'm playing on PS5.
Yeah,
So
you're so much smarter than me.
Yeah, I just upgraded my PC for this game, and I'm still having issues.
Yeah, same.
It's a kind of a mess.
Apparently, it's specifically a NVIDIA thing. I've heard that people with AMD graphics cards are having a lot better time. Still, though, huge caveat for PC.
Yes.
At the moment, hey, here's hoping they say at the free title update, they're like, by the way, we figured out what the fuck was fundamentally wrong with this PC port, and we're going to fix it. But I don't know. I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Also, the one thing that I will say is they are adding like monsters that are a level above tempered monsters in the new update.
Yeah, which is trivializing tempered monsters is like an insane choice for fucking Wilds. But whatever.
They're too easy.
Oh my God, I can't stop doing it. I can't stop complaining.
Here's a complaint. No Monster Hunter language. It's the worst game I've ever played.
That is
Play the game in real languages that actually
at
exist.
least you
What's
can
the
make it so
fucking
your
point?
cat doesn't talk.
dude, dude. Oh, the beta when the cat talked in the beta, I was like, "Fuck this! What is going on?"
Shut up, moron.
I love that it just like instead it goes by Yakuza rules. Like everyone just understands the cat.
Yeah.
Tower of Babel rules will always win. That's so much funnier.
That's why Tekken is
Oh
big.
yeah, Tekken.
If you want to read more about Brendan's thoughts about Monster Hunter Wilds, you should go check out his zine. We're going to put it down in the description.
Shouts
it's
out.
a great read.
Excellent read.
It's far more eloquent than what the fuck just happened over the last 40 minutes, I think.
100%.
Thanks so much for listening. This episode of the podcast would not have been possible without the help from our patrons, such as Alan Diver, Bland But Funny, Boo Pulu, Brain Soup, Brass, Cassandra Crash, Chips, Chris Chapman, Devo, not the band, DX Studios, Edward McMillan, Eric Scott Gillies, Ethereal, Geef, Generic Phoenix, Guy Beam, Invictus Echo, Jay Bird, Lambda Man, Leo the Geotech, Lucavia, Mr. Starchy, Mr. Shirt, Pharmacy Fruit Bat, Preston Husk, Rat Supreme, Ryan Rocket, Spherical May, Sponge Guy, The Frost Ace, Ulbert, Will9455, and Woodstock. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.